Hey everybody, it's a Mad Master here. I'm doing one more video today, possibly maybe two, about actually some good news for a change as far as what's going on in this current crisis. Of course, that is the spiked ball crisis, I'll call it from now on, because what else am I going to call it on YouTube with their censorious intents? Now, what I speak of is the BLM chapter in New York City are probably coming under fire, but also putting some things under fire, as far as, not literally, but in a way, actually. I wish that would happen, but you know, these people are fucking crazy. Not BLM, but the governments. But in a way, I'd rather have people suffer in real life, rather than get hurt in any way, get sued, get ratioed, or get put in prison, like people that violate their own guidelines, for example. So this is a really interesting dilemma that's going on in New York City right now. Now, the African American community has always had collective malaise towards mandates and sort of things like medical kinds of things, for obvious reasons. The 20th century is full of a lot of horrific eugenics experiments and so forth, Tuskegee experiment and so forth. So the level of mistrust towards the medical establishment in that community is pretty high, and their we use a code word, Action Jackson Nation rate. I use this because of this guy I watch. He uses all these code words for YouTube to get away with doing videos about this stuff. Or max in rates are low, especially in this current crisis. So there's been some really rancorous confrontations in New York City the last couple of weeks because of certain people getting turned away and accused of forging cards and all sorts of stuff. And I'm not sure what to make of all of it yet, but the BLM chapters in New York City are saying, hey, this is not right. This mandate is just not going to work, as far as disproportionately people of color are going to be affected by it. And I'm kind of taken back to Malcolm X's white liberals speech, infamous or famous white liberal speech, and so forth. And this is the types of people that I've been calling out in the Democratic Party for as long as I've had a YouTube. My original YouTube, I talked about these Democrat establishment people and all this stuff, and they're the ones pushing this the most. You have Chris Hedges come out sort of half against mandates. You have all sorts of people on the left just being like, man, this is not a good precedent. We need an incentive instead of a mandate. And I agree with them. Incentives, better outreach. If this thing's that important, don't beat people over the head with it. It seems desperate. It's like a guy that's like obsessed with a woman that he's like has a crush on. And he stalks her instead, right? Instead of trying to like get to know her as a person and like get in a real relationship. This is kind of like these mandates are like the version of that. So I saw this article. I'll probably post it in the description. I am happy as a ham not being served for dinner, seeing this headline, and these people are kind of coming to this certain side, and we're coming to this precipice where we have what's her name, I forgot what her name was. These just various people that are just coming out, and Rose McGowan's of the world, or even though she supported Larry Elder, which I really question that. We have all sorts of like musicians coming out, and comedians, Jim Brewer. Just like it's coming out. These mandates just do not set the right precedent, in my opinion, and it's like the drug war. It's like, oh, you've got to go to prison if you do drugs, and it's like the same type of concept. It's like what you put in your body, to me, is your autonomy, But if you're going to encourage people to do it, why are you doing it in this negative, weird, browbeating way? It seems desperate and seems like, well, maybe there's another agenda there. Of course, that's going to feed conspiracy theories. So to see this this thing about the BLM kind of getting on board with this, I know I've criticized them in the past because there's like the head of the national chapter bought a mansion and all this stuff, and there's a little griftopia going on with that kind of stuff a little bit. But overall, like I did my earlier last year, I did it. It's like I sympathize with both them and the anti-lockdown protesters in many ways. So in this situation, I think this is another way, and maybe I almost predicted this this alliance, that's seeming to go on, like on Twitter, and other various places. So I think that this is going to reach a real boiling point in our political system and our, this whole thing. I do not believe in these mandates, and I think that they are racist. And I'll explain why I believe unconsciously racist. So it's a history of gentrification, these white, cases like white liberals in Portland or Madison, Wisconsin, or, they come in and they're just like these, they're tied in with these like sort of small, lower level corporations and stuff. And they totally whitewash and just like clean up either this upper middle class, like yuppie, but liberal type of thing that they do this, and they gentrification. And gentrification is not some kind of Republican thing or something. I mean, obviously a lot of the people at the heads of these corporations probably vote Republican a lot of time, even though since Clinton it's kind of turned the other opposite way because of his neoliberalism and stuff. But it's just like sweep it under the rug kind of thing, with their gentrification, and they're just trying to beautify a city and all this stuff, and they support all these policies, all these housing things, and they'll have on the surface they'll be like, oh, I believe in affordable housing, but they won't hardly do anything about it. There'll be some bill, it'll just be this transparent thing, like, what the hell are you, just like the whole Medicare for all thing. If people really cared about, there was an estimate that 200,000 people who died of what would have not died in the United States if we had Medicare for all. And I don't know what I think about the statistics. It's a little controversial, but yeah, we have all these people that are kind of coming to this side of the debate because things are reaching a heated thing within this realm. You're going to have this implementation of this mandate that cuts out all those low-life, non-rich people who are distrustful, or they're distrustful of a shot, and that's going to create racial tension, period. Especially in New York City, where I almost said it, where the rates are pretty low. The rates are pretty low among, the vaccine rates are pretty low amongst certain communities. So I'm glad that BLM is coming out on this side of this, at least the New York City chapter. I think we need to challenge this whole thing, because I'm afraid of the lasting impact of these things like, oh, you haven't had your 15th booster, you can't come in. Oh, it's just like, when is it going to end? It's like after 9/11. When is it? When am I going to have to take off my? When am I not going to have to take off? Am I taking off your shoes at the airport? Who gives a shit? But it's like, it's just all these little things add up in our society. We're going to live in this this biometric security state or something, where you can't go anywhere without this thing on your phone. And it's just like, that's total fascism. It's corporations tied in with the government, which is by textbook definition fascism. So good on BLM. Keep on the good fight. Let's get some lawsuits going. Get them in there. Lawsuits and more civil disobedience. No, as bad as it sounds, this is one thing that they're good at, is civil disobedience. As we've seen the last 5 years, they're fucking good at it. And I support that in this case. And I always did support it. I just didn't like the hypocrisy of, the bourgeois liberals, supporting them. I just didn't like the hypocrisy. I always support civil disobedience if it's, well justified. So bring it on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get him. This is unacceptable. And it's just a further like this hoity-toity, like, well, I'm more sophisticated, like that, that the controversy a month or two ago about the sophisticated people at Obama's birthday party because they had the shot, right? They're more sophisticated, these people. It's just like, it's like this classist like thing, like, oh my God, I've had this special thing that I injected into my body, so I'm better than you. It's like that's gonna get people to do it. I'd be like, fuck off, I mean, I already did it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's going to get more people to do it. It's going to divide people further. It's like, oh, you think you're so special because you got this thing, So, BLM and, more people coming out against this stuff, and you just realizing, like, the partial, acquisition of power that is this power grab, amongst these people. And just like this, like, oh, these hoity-toity restaurants, we cannot have those we cannot serve these people because they didn't get this thing done to themselves, and they're such a threat to us, even though we had this thing done to ourselves. Does that make any sense? If you had the thing done to prevent getting something from people that didn't have something done, why does it make sense to segregate people that haven't had that thing done? It doesn't make any rational sense. It's like Chris Rock's recent statement. He gets sick, and then he says, "Oh, get the max in," right? It's like, what are you? Did you say, okay? Like if he said, "Well, this probably saved my life," that's like Bruce Dickinson said that or something. That makes a little more logical sense. Like, oh, I got sick, but I probably would have died or something like that. That makes a lot more sense than what Chris Rock said. And these people are just saying this like really muddled messaging. Like Bruce Dickinson probably could be a good person to say. His messaging was actually pretty straightforward. I'm not a fan of like these celebrities saying all this stuff, but his messaging was actually good. That's a case where it's like, I'm just direct stuff that he's saying and made sense. It was more logically consistent, So, but yeah, I don't believe in these mandates of any kind. I think we need to, testing I'm mixed on. I think the rapid test thing should have been more implemented, like Michael Mina's ideas and stuff. I just don't, just these mandates need to be resisted. This could cause, they could just use it for all sorts of stuff in the future. It's just that slippery slope, and I forgot the other word I was going to use for it, but like, it could just be, you could say, oh, well, you don't have this done, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you can't be part of this club. It's like, are these social credit scores coming down the road, and stuff like that. Oh, your Twitter, you said this on Twitter 5 years ago, and now your social credit score is only 60. Now you can't come into this club. It's like the rich trying to just solidify their hold on. And New York City is probably, it's notoriously expensive for one, and it's a total example of gentrification. I think CBGB actually closed in part because they wanted some fucking condos for people or some shit or something like that. It's like, it's gentrification, it's yuppiedom, it's limousine liberals, as they call them. It's these people that they think they're so justified and civilized and all this stuff, but they look down upon people. And they're the white liberals that Malcolm X talked about, many years ago. It's just like it's this act. They're probably covertly pretty racist, And there was some racial slurs allegedly used, and I'm not sure if that was true or not, but it's like, keep us away from those unwashed, unblanked masses, right? And that's not the way it should be. That's not how you sell this thing to people. And you could scare them too, if they're not in a high risk group, they're not going to be as scared. It's just a fact. And it's just not going to work the way they're doing it. They have to think of a different approach if they're going to do it this way. And I completely and utterly support civil disobedience, and I think it creates a real problem and dilemma for the left, which I like because we've got to separate the wheat from the chaff in the left. And it sounds like a purist thing to say, like pure, I'm a purity spiral, SJW, whatever. But it's like, no, this pseudo wokest, corporatist, um, big corporate, alliance with all this stuff. You look at the people that have made these passports, all these corporations, and like big tech, big pharma people that have done this. I looked it up. There was just all these people, New York and California. They're trying. They're actually they're all coalescing in this thing. Those two states with this whole passport process, with the whole digital passport, not just having that stupid card which I have, which I want to burn. If there was a huge protest of people, and it was going out like in Australia and stuff like that, I would just go to a protest and burn it on TV or something. I would love to do that because I'm so sick of this crap. But yeah, BLM. I know I've criticized them because of certain more or less them, but the people that were supporting them and being hypocritical about it rather than anything. Kudos to them. I hope the right wing that are against all these mandates just says, okay, I'll give them that credit for doing this, right? And I understand where they're coming from. I hope this is a united alliance against tyranny, because it is tyranny, or it could lead to tyranny. If it has no sunset clause, it'll lead to tyranny, in my opinion. That's about all.